I see that brain.
You know, not everything can be calculated.
Okay.
Not everything can be calculated. So sometimes we miss some of the calculations. You know, years ago, people were satisfied with a cell phone that only had purity up to seven nines behind it. Now, if you don't get 12, you know, it's not good enough. And next year, it'll probably be 16. The only reason they didn't do it then is because they couldn't calculate that they needed it. Everything can't be calculated. So, call it a miracle, call it what you will. It works out pretty good for me. I'm happy about it.
Go ahead, Jen.
I think miracles are subjective in that, like Eric was saying, the fact that I breathe in and out without even thinking about it is miraculous. Photosynthesis is miraculous. We can now explain those things. 1,000 years ago, you couldn't explain those things, right?
Right.
But I still think it's a miracle. Somebody being no longer sick after they've been super sick. It happens, right? You're driving down the road and the deer almost hits you, but it doesn't, right? I could walk around saying all kinds of things are miracles or not, right? And so,
everybody's being so safe up here. Everybody's being so safe with these answers. I love that you guys are being very safe. But continue, Gia.
No, it's because what I think is a miracle, someone else might not think is.
But I brought you here because I want to hear what you think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So the answer quite clearly, yes, I do believe they exist.
Yeah.
If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. I believe miracles exist.
The answer is
but
yes,
you're
I
pushing me to say whether or not I attribute it to God, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I do.
Again, I think, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Yes, stand on
yes.
that, Jen.
Yeah, exactly.
I do.
Does anybody want to add anything else? Tay, you want to say?
I just feel like I sound like a negative man. Like, no,
No,
I don't
listen,
believe in miracles.
listen. No, don't. You know you don't. No, don't. I don't see it as negativity. That is your perspective, and your.
Yes.
So that's why I brought you
Totally
here.
valid.
Like I really want you to share.
Just like short answers.
No, that's okay. So what do you? So what is it? So you don't
I
believe
think there's definitely like amazing, incredible things that happen that I personally can't explain. I wouldn't attribute it to God, and I probably wouldn't call it a miracle. Like I would use miracle in, again, a metaphorical sense. Like Evelyn, a lot of people go like, she's a miracle baby, she survived this. Yeah. And I was like, that's great. She's like a miracle of modern medicine. It's so amazing the things they did to help her survive outside of the womb, and like, you know how she is now. She's full of piss and vinegar, but like, so like a miracle in that sense, like it's a good word to use because it's almost hard to explain all the obstacles she's overcome, but I don't think it was God. You know?
No, I appreciate your perspective. So
I feel like everybody's like, I feel this and I moved, and I'm
that's-
like, that's not real.
Okay. I appreciate your perspective. So thank you for that. So I want to. Did you have anything to add, Chris? I'm sorry, I don't want to overlook you.
Oh, that's okay. I just think my religion's about experiences. So I would say, yeah, probably not use that terminology, but.
What terminology would you use?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but I know that things happen, and I definitely attribute them to one of many guys, depending on what it is.
I'm gonna add a both and.
Okay.
To mine, that's a phrase that I use a lot, is that it's both and, right? So it can be both God and something else, or not.
It can be, absolutely. Right. I agree.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So one last question, because we're going to get into our audience questions. I have so many questions that I was not able to get to. I knew I would not be able to, because this is such a, I love this type of conversation. So this is really fun for me. But I want to ask us a question, a more personal question. Do we feel like we can be we feel at times that we can be a bit hypocritical or judgmental to other people that do not necessarily believe how we believe, right? Sometimes, I can even speak for myself. I think that sometimes, back in the day, I could be a little self-righteous, right? Where it's like, this is what I believe, and if nobody else believes it, basically, you know, you're going to hell, right? That was what, you know, I was kind of taught in some aspects of how you operate and walk through life. So do you feel like we can be that way sometimes? I mean, because right now we sound really beautiful and like kumbaya-ish and like all are welcome and it's okay. but really, you know, do you feel like sometimes we can be that way?
Yeah, we can. I mean, because we're people. Human beings will do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We will set strong biases, even though we don't realize we're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of talking about it, because it absolutely can happen. And so we have to be honest about that yes, we can be extremely hypocritical at times. Any group that says they're not, you're probably not telling the full truth, but we all can be. But if you're biased, the real question comes down to whether or not you are willing to allow that person to continue to go the path they're going without you imposing abusive situations upon them. That's where I think you cross the line.
Yeah.
I think you ought to know where you stand and stand where you stand, and be willing to allow that person, if they don't want to receive it, to not, you know, put a penalty on them. Okay?
A penalty on them, yeah.
If there's life after death, and I believe there is, the penalty will take care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hypocrisy and the question yours is, are you asking like as personally me or as like the people I represent, like people of my religion?
I'm asking you personally.
Personally, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, human being, as we believe, were created not as a perfect person. We are striving on daily basis to become perfect or to better. And in that, we have a struggle. And that struggle, sometimes we fail. And when we fail, we fall in that criteria of being a hypocrite.
Yeah. I just want to add anything before we get to the audience.
Can it happen? Yes, it happens all the time.
Oh,
Because of our misunderstandings, our biases,
yeah.
and sometimes the traditions we come from.
Yeah. 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 No, that's true. Oh, I had so many more things about morality and some other things, but that's okay. We are going to move on to our audience because I really enjoy this part, and you all are able to, there we go, ask some questions of us, and we will do our best to answer. Do we have any questions from the audience? Don't be shy. We have one in the front here.
Do any of you guys believe that that government and religion should be intertwined?
Should be intertwined? You might believe that?
I don't.
That government and religion should be intertwined?
Again, to some extent, I think what I believe is like where the religion gives us some parameters about faith and how to live our life, as long as they try to implement that, is fine. But the issue is that, like if I talk about my religion, God tells us a wide parameter. It's just like, it's not that this is the only thing you can do. You have choices, that many choices. Pick one and do it. But I think as people, when we try to implement law in that faith, we tell them, no, you can't do it because this is wrong and this is right. So it leaves us just one path. I think that's where it's too much intermingled between men or people trying to implement laws in order to enforce God's will, even though God didn't ask for that. So I think it's a tough question in a way that, yes, to some extent there should be some overlap, but not taken over like that.
Not taken over.
I think the key word when he said overlap, what we miss is that it's okay to overlap, but we confuse overlap with trying to become actually one and act like one. It's okay to decide that we're going to stay outside of these, and let's agree that these are the areas we can work in, because we all share a common ground. We live in one earth. That's it, folks. We don't have another one. So we have to learn how to agree upon those areas where we can overlap for the good of us all in humanity. But there are going to be areas where I really don't want to overlap. I'm married, by the way. There's some areas I don't want to overlap. Like Monday Night Football, that's my space.
Oh, goodness. Thank you.
He asked for it.
That was, does anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay, thank you for that question. Do we have any other questions?
Hi, I got a couple. The first one is that I struggle with religion in schools because I work for them and my children go to them, but it's okay to have your religion in school, but our religion is forgotten or not celebrated, and when we're asked to not have it in the schools, we get punished as parents and as our children. And how can we as parents advocate for our religion as well, or at least saying get rid of it completely, including the Pledge of Allegiance that's said every day?
So are you speaking specifically like to Christianity? Is that what you're?
I am. I'm going to be honest because
please.
one nation under God is not how we believe in our house, and it's really insulting when our kids are forced to stand for that Pledge of Allegiance. I have gone to many schools and many principals saying that my husband is a veteran, and if my children do not want to stand, then that is their free choice. But how come schools get to control our children on that?
Anybody want to take that one on?
I don't have the answer. I don't know why they do it.
Does anybody want to? Yeah,
They
because you.
Yeah. This is a multi-hat question.
It is. I love
So
it.
they shouldn't be forced, and legally they can't be forced to stand for the pledge or say it. So that is
That's one part.
that's
of it.
one part of
Yeah.
it. And I think in school that we haven't done the, just in general, schools all over the place. Our culture has not done the best job of being inclusive and diverse in holidays that are off, on parties that we have. And I think one of the things that is happening and that we're realizing is that we need to do a better job at that, at celebrating diversity, at celebrating different holidays, at having different days of school off.
Which is very difficult.
Yes.
I mean, let's just be
Yes.
honest.
Yep.
If, you know, to kind of adhere to everybody's
Yep.
different beliefs, right? That's very difficult. I know even like when my children growing up, we didn't celebrate Halloween. And that was something that was passed on to me, right? We learned about what I believed Halloween was about when I was younger, and then so with my children, and I really wasn't a big holiday person anyway, right? I was more of a just give to other people. I didn't really want a lot of things for myself or to make it, I guess, capitalism, commercialism, all that good stuff. So we didn't participate. But I remember when they were younger, I remember a teacher took their T-shirt and tried to make it into a costume anyway because I didn't put them in one, so they didn't feel left out. Well, really, that actually made them feel more left out because now they felt like they were doing something wrong. So I understand the question that you're asking in regards to how do we allow all children to feel kind of seen while they're at school. So that's always been a difficult one, I believe.
You know, but unfortunately, it does happen.
Yeah.
In a lot of places. But, you know, and I don't know if there's an easy answer or a good answer for any of it.
Sure.
But every community has a particular identity that we all have to occasionally adjust to, even though we don't particularly care for it. And there are many people who've had to make many adjustments that were forced upon them as well. So we certainly understand how it feels, and it's uncomfortable. The key I try to help my youngsters with and others with is to tell them, don't let that define you. Regardless of what happens, don't let it define you.
Yeah. I guess we'll
Just gonna keep
add anything to that? It's a good question. Any other questions here? We have somebody, couple here. Ooh, yeah, keep those hands coming up.
I can't see anything,
I
so.
know, I know. Like movement.
Big jump.
So I would like to ask all of you, in front of you or like whatever the religion you follow, what is one important pillar or root which is very important for peace in this world?
What we're doing here today, right? This is one thing that is important to me. I appreciate that question. I am a lover of different walks of life. I study them. I'm just fascinated by the different paths people take. And one thing I found in almost all of them that I've studied is loving each other, right? Being respectful, being kind. It's like these core morals that most have across the board, across the spectrum. And so I appreciate that, and I try to live that way in regards to loving people. That's one thing for me that I feel helps in this walk with other people, because we are so vastly different. I mean, it's just so many different things. And so love and that kindness and respect is a very big pillar for me in regards to how I interact with people.
Yeah, I think if we look into it, you talk about every religion or every entity, the group that follows, the basic principles are all about the same, of respecting each other, of love, to achieve a peace in the world. But unfortunately, we all talk about it, but we don't practice it. That's where that question came, was like, this is hypocrisy, this is racism, because we think that what we believe is good, but some other color of people or other group of people living in some other world, they are not worthy of that. Mm-hmm. That's when they go through those hardships. That's when they lose maybe their land, their lives, all that, because the other group doesn't believe in that. Even though they will preach the peace, mm-hmm. they will preach all about love, but they won't follow it, because that's again at the same, because practice is looking at a narrow lens of what your religion is, or what your race is, or what your color is. Mm-hmm. That's probably, that I think is the problem, is like we preach about love, but we don't practice it.
Yeah, I agree.
For me, mine is people are not disposable.
Yeah.
Don't throw them away. That's a basic core for me.
Mm-hmm.
People are not disposable. Don't throw them away.
Yeah. That's a big one. Ooh, hits me a little bit. Yeah.
Love was going to be my answer too, centered on love. All the major world's religions have some variation of the golden rule, how we care for one another.
Yeah.
So that's key for me.
And love is so deep, right? I mean, we use it a lot very loosely, right? But it's so deep, and it's really this idea to me that I don't have to change you into who I want you to be, right? I get to meet you exactly how you are and love you exactly how you are. Sometimes love for some people is trying to constantly cultivate that person and change them, right? To become the person that they wish for them to become. And really, loving people is really accepting them exactly how they are, right? Meeting them where they are. So that's my soapbox. I'm going to get off of it. But that's a big one for me, right? So, yeah. Thank you for that question. Any other questions?
I'm wearing mine. I'll just say that.
I appreciate you all being here. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here myself. I'm wondering, what advice or guidance would you give to a young person navigating their faith who are in the queer community, and they might be experiencing some dissonance with navigating their own identities, while also hearing fellow believers tell them that maybe their identities aren't the will of God?
Yeah, that was on my list. Thank you. What's some answers for that? What do you have for that? Because let's just be really transparent, right? Some of our books say certain things, right? They just clearly say that some things, right, wrong, right, favorable, non-favorable. How do we approach that, right? When people are coming to us from different walks of life.
If I'll start. So
Please.
I think the journey of faith is everyone's individual journey. They have to go through their journey by themselves. There will be support around, there will be help around, but that is what their decision, and they have to take that leap. whatever faith they want to follow. The help will be books. I know this, and I feel, looking at my kids, I'm older generation now. I'm from that generation where we used to hold book and read a book by turning the pages. Yeah, and now the kids are on tablets. They read books on the tablets. Where they just like do that. And unless I have a book in my hand, I don't enjoy that
Me
book.
too. I still like books too. Yeah.
So books are the best partner that you can get by reading through them, getting knowledge, getting all your questions answered. That's exactly when your heart will tell you. That's another thing. See, and again, I'm saying, because there are some people who don't believe in God, but I'm saying it's like, God, you'll find God from your heart. The questions will come from the mind, and you have to answer those questions. But you will find the God from your heart. And when the heart is pure, you will find the God.
And I want to add to that really quick, and then I want some other people to, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the question is, how do we connect, accept, educate, talk to, all those things with people from the queer community when they come into a organized religion that may particularly say that they are not, that they're an abomination to God. Like, I'm just gonna say it because I know everybody's tiptoeing around here, but when people say those things, right, that they are an abomination to God, how do we address that, right, on a personal level, right? Because I don't want you all to feel like you have to answer for your whole religious, belief system. I want from yourself, like, how do you connect with people who can come to you from that walk of life? Yeah, go, jump
okay,
in.
I'm in for this question.
Yeah,
this is
in.
what I do.
That's what you
So
do.
I am very, very lucky to be part of a faith community and a denomination. I work at the state level for the United Church of Christ that works, that believes 100% that LGBTQ people should be included in every single way, exactly as they are, in the full life of the church and are loved by God.
Oh, is that Daniel? I know that shout.
And so that, I think, the biggest piece of advice that I would give to young people in the queer community is to be searching, be looking for finding
that's what she
safe
was saying,
spaces
not
to
being-
have the conversations and ask the questions that you want to ask in a way that does not cause you harm.
Yeah, I think with any subject matter, period, if you don't meet willing to listen and talk to each other, you'll never get anywhere, number one.
Yeah.
Both parties have to be willing to assume that they have each other's good intentions in mind. I can't approach you as if I don't have your best interest in mind, and you don't approach me as if you don't have my best interest in mind. If you could start there, you could at least have the conversation regardless of what your beliefs are. So that's how I approach it.
Yeah.
If I talk to you, I'm talking to you with your best interest in mind, and I'm assuming that you're willing to listen to me with my best interest in mind. If you don't approach it that way, you can't even have the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't stop searching. Continue on the search for truth and meaning. And know that there are communities out there who will love you exactly as you are.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hands. There we are.
Has there been a generalized increase or decrease in faith and religion, and what are those influential factors?
What was the last part? I'm sorry, I missed the last part.
What are those factors that show increase or decrease?
I feel like there has been an increase. I mean, and I think I say that based on like 2020. Like 2020 it was a year, right? And I think that when I kind of read about some things that happened during that time, people jumped the increase in like political affiliation and religious affiliation, I'm sorry, seem to increase based on studies that said that, you know, people were like, okay, what's going on, especially like with the pandemic, you know, people were losing their lives, you know, unfortunately, and people were looking for, as we started off with, people were looking for something to kind of hold on to, right? So I believe that it increased, and I think that that was part of it. So, but anybody else have any?
I've seen just the opposite.
That's what I
I've
was gonna say.
seen
I think there's a
across the
decrease.
board, mainstream religions have seen a decrease in attendance and membership in the last few years.
What do you think the contributing?
Can I explain it? No.
Okay.
Hypocrisy, not meeting people where they are, being honest about answering their questions, helping them. I mean, why are they there? They're looking for answers, meaning. They're looking for meaning, right? And maybe they're not finding that.
Yeah, everything I've read says the same thing, that organized religion is decreasing and alternative religions are on the rise.
Spiritualism, right? Okay, okay.
Spiritual, but not religious.
Yeah,
Yes.
spiritualism. Okay. Yeah, it's so interesting because last show I kind of made mention of that, how depending on which study you look at, you can find one that says one thing. That's how these studies work, right? Depending on who they ask. But do you all have any insight on that? No.
I don't really.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, it appears to be decreasing. It could be, like you said, it could be that, again, you know, the reality to where people really are,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, in terms of their firm belief versus the practice of doing it. You know, you can do the practice and you can get used to the routine and the ritual. You know, you always hang your keys here. You always put your shoes here. You get used to it. And that to you feels like what you should be doing. The question is it really internally inside your spirit while you're doing it? If it is, then you'll be okay even though the numbers might decrease.
Well, I'm not sure about increasing or decreasing, but what I've seen mostly in practical world recently is like some people who are trying to shy away from being practicing people in their religion is because they think that the religion is stopping them for doing things that they want to do, the way they want to live. So when they feel that the religion is going to hinder their change, then they stop become practicing person. But they still, I think, define or in the end associate themselves to some kind of a group. They cannot live without, or they cannot bear that to be not associated with a group. They, in the end, I feel that they still want to be associated with a group, even though they are not practicing.
So you all have maybe seen that people are not coming out to the spaces as much as they used to, right? And some of that happened too, like with COVID, right? People didn't want to be around people, right? We learned like, oh, we like this a little bit, not being around people, and it became a little fun, and so that's part of it, right? But then some other contributing factors that you all, did you have something else?
So I would say that the numbers that I have seen, and I can't quote studies or
Me
whatever
either,
after you, that's not in my wheelhouse ever. But the declining religious affiliation is a prominent trend, and from someone who works in the wider church, looking at lots of local churches, the religious institutions, not all of them, but many of them, are slow to change. And we have seen so much rapid change, so radically, all across the globe, but especially in the United States in the last decade, that increasing anxiety, increasing diversity, when religious institutions aren't able to be innovative and creative and relevant, people notice now, and they're like, I don't have time for that. If you aren't going to be a space where I can ask my questions and seek my identity, belonging, and purpose, then I have other things to do on Sunday morning. And so I think that one of the biggest challenges of organized religion right now is how do we change rapidly? How do we be able to, like you started the conversation, how do we transfer our beliefs and what we feel is important? How do we put that in language that is relevant to today? Not, you know. And the stories have been told, they keep being told for thousands of years, and we can make them relevant. It's just we're slow to do that.